Square of Health, the interactive corner. If this is your first time watching, my name is Leslie Colvin and I am the host of this square. Now, if this is the first video that you are seeing, I'm going to give a tiny recap and then you can go back and rewatch and catch up at your own pace or at your own time or whatever. But in the segment prior to this, I did a bunch of informative videos on a few topics. And this segment, I'm going to still be talking about those topics, but I'm going to, it's going to be interactive. That's why I called it the interactive corner. I'm going to have guests on the show that fancy in that field, so they'll be able to explain things better than I can and more in depth. Now, one of the videos that I did previously were about nature. Today's topic, well, not today's topic, I'm actually going to expand that topic over a few videos because there are a bunch of different pinpoints that I would like to hit within nature. In the previous video that I did on nature, what I said was you need to understand where it is that you came from in order to know where you are headed. So in that video, I only spoke about our motherland. I spoke about the homeland and where we came from on Earth. But today, I would like to crack open and dig deeper, or maybe even reach a little higher as we explore the universe. You see, planetary alignments with the stars and the influence that the moon has on the tides has said to have a major impact on who we are as people, how we respond to things, and how we react to people. So today with me to give you guys a better of an even to give myself a bit more of an understanding on why these things happen and how they can even happen. With me, I have record executive from Cleveland with Love.
What's good? How y'all doing?
How are you today?
I'm pretty peachy keen. How about you?
I'm feeling a lot better than I felt over this past week. And I'm very excited to have you here because this whole retrograde thing that's been going on, I've been seeing a lot about it on Twitter and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Because I've been tired. I've been like having all these emotions like emerge, and I'm just like, what is going on? On top of, I guess, my hormones too, but that's another topic. But like, what is this retrograde?
So retrograde basically means the motion of a planet goes in reverse from our perception of it. So, for example, when the sun is transiting through the sky, it's moving through different signs through the season. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Now, if a planet is in retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards. So with Mercury retrograde, instead of moving Aries, Taurus, Gemini, now it's going backwards, Gemini, Taurus, Aries. But it doesn't move that fast. So the retrograde started when Mercury was in Leo, and it's going to go back to Mercury in Cancer until maybe about the middle of the month.
What does this mean when you say it started in Leo? What does that mean?
So everything is moving constantly. Every planet has a transit through the sky, mm-hmm. And when you look at constellations, you'll see what signs are there. So like, if it's March 22nd, you look up, that's the constellation of Aries. Now,
so you can actually like read the stars and see where the planets are at specific times?
Yes and no. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So, there are two separate branches of astrology. You have Western astrology, you have Eastern astrology. Obviously,
I'm sorry, because this is gonna get deep. Can you tell us how you got into this whole thing?
I think I used to look at like my horoscope in the paper with my mother, mm-hmm. And like she would read her horoscope and like I would just take it because the horoscope was right by the cartoon section. So I was always looking at the cartoons and then I would look at my horoscope. So like I'm just like reading the different things. I'm like, how the hell can y'all predict what the hell is going on? Mm-hmm. And so like I gotta be honest, for a huge portion of my life, like I didn't really adhere to anything that it said until maybe about 2015 was when I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? So that's kind of how I got into it. But what really got me deeper into it was I started noticing different things going on in my life. And like I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not a congregation type person, so I don't talk to people about this type of stuff. So I was looking for answers on my own. And I obviously for like a layman person, you don't really just go looking towards astrology, but something gravitated me towards that. And I was trying to learn more about myself. And you know, when you just like doing basic astrology, only thing you know about is your sun sign. And there's like 3 big parts of your personality. It's your sun sign,
your rising,
your moon,
and your moon.
Right.
So guys, while I was away, one of the things that I did was I got a tattoo. I got a tattoo of my sun sign, my moon sign, and my rising sign. So my sun is a Virgo. Excuse me, my sun is a Virgo, my moon is a Gemini, and my rising is a Capricorn.
So, just like piggyback off of that. So your sun sign is like your conscious actions. That's what you know yourself as, like ego-wise. Not like what you're going to reactive-wise, but like if you're like, I'm about to go into this situation and I'm about to be as me as possible, you're gonna act like a Virgo. Me, I'm a Libra, so I'm gonna act like a Libra. You probably are like really detail-oriented, big on communication, but not necessarily like, maybe not like frivolous communication, but more so like technical communication. Like, hey, this needs to get done, this needs to get done. Organized.
Confirm,
yeah, but you also probably have like situations where you deal with anxiety, or you would have like pretty bad nerves to an extent. That's like the gift and the curse of the sign. Me, me as a Libra, like my sun sign is more so to just be like cooperative, harmonious. They say we talk a lot, even though I don't think I'm social.
You do.
I don't think I'm social at all. But yeah, Libra is mostly about like relating to people, and I could do that easily. Now your moon sign is what they say is you at the core of your being. So that's your emotional reactions. The moon in astrology also represents your mother, the environment that you grew up in when you were.
Are you serious? My mother is a Gemini.
Doesn't that make sense?
Wow. That's why I act so much like her.
No, honestly. And Gemini is a sign of imitation, so like you probably really act like her.
Oh my gosh, growing up I always thought my mom was crazy. Oh my gosh.
So like well, before I get into that, also like aspects between your moon and different planets kind of flavor the type of relationship that you might have had with your mother. But when I say it's like your reactions, so the example that I like to give is, boom, it's a natural disaster right now. If a meteor just struck this apartment, your moon sign is the very first thing that you would do. Like not your sun sign, what you acting consciously, like your first reaction, boom. So like your moon sign is in Gemini, you probably go analyze the situation a little bit. You might call somebody and talk to them. You probably talk to people a lot. That's like one of your things that you do. People with Gemini moons are like very smart. They can hold information well, but like y'all are very known to be chatty. You talk about Libras talk a lot. Trust me, I know a couple of Gemini moons, and they're like.
No, seriously. Every time me and my mom together, I'm like, Ma, I don't care. Ma, stop talking, please. Yeah. So okay.
And then last, you got your rising sign. So
this one was a little tricky to me.
It still is, because it opens the door to like the entire astrology. And you could, a lot of people like to skirt by, oh, I just know my sun sign, I just know my moon sign, I might know my Venus or my Mars. But when you know your rising sign, it really unlocks you as a person. So your rising sign is like your persona, your personal affairs, how you come off to the world. If I was to first walk up to you and meet you, and if I was to like prejudge you and say like, oh, you know, you're this, without even knowing you, that would be your rising sign that I see. So like you said, you're a Capricorn rising. I can't admit, like, when I first met you at the skating ring, I never picked up on that. But like, that was a water bottle.
Yeah, excuse you.
I'm like, did you fart? Because you showed your move at the right time. But yeah, like, so that's your persona and how you go through the world.
Hold on, so you said your rising sign is how people perceive you?
Right.
Okay.
So, and some people are aware of their rising sign, but like depending on what positions there are, you probably won't be aware of it at all. Because like people, I know I've had people tell me I'm this way, but when they meet me, I'm a completely different way. Now, sometimes you can have alignments where it's like harmonious to where parts of your personality, which is your rising sun, moon, and all the different planets, they can act in concert with each other. But then sometimes you have situations where it's like, every time I try to do this, I'm never satisfied with this. Or every time I try to do this, I'm never satisfied with this. That means you got like tension in your chart. And that's something that you kind of got to work on in your life if you want to work on that or continue to complain about it. But like with the rising sign, when I say like it unlocks every other thing, that's your first house. And there are 12 different houses.
I saw that because I downloaded this app called CoStar, and I was able I was able to see the different houses, and I still don't understand any of it. But so you said that there are 12.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now each of the 12 houses represent a different area of life. And they also correlate with all 12 signs. Now, people like to say the signs rule the houses, but like in my research, it's the houses rule the signs. But they're almost interchangeable. So if you're talking about ascendant first house or the rising sign, that correlates with the constellation or the sign of Aries. You know, first, it's about the body. I don't want to say like me first, but like healthy selfishness, initiation. The first thing you notice, that's why it's the first house. Second house is about your values, things that you value, all the people that you value, places that you value, you know, wealth, how you might accumulate wealth is correlates with the sign of Taurus. Third house, which is about communication, short distance trips, like elementary school education, your siblings, that's the third house, which is correlated with Gemini. Fourth house is the first time that you are actually able to understand that you have emotional awareness. It also has to do with your home, the mother's part of the family, private matters, issues, and that correlates with the sign of Cancer. Fifth house is about your creative self-expression. Fifth house is also called like the house of the heart. And like if you talk about like ancient astrology, it's like your past life deeds and stuff. You got a question?
No, I was getting ready to say your fifth house. You said it's the house of the heart. The fifth chakra is also the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is ruled by Leo,
mm-hmm.
which is the sign of the sun, which is also
mm-hmm.
a significator of the heart. So you kind of see how, I believe, what is it, like 9 different chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
it's like, okay, so when you're I learned about the 9 by reading about a different spirituality, but when you, I don't want to say in terms of yoga or whatever it is, excuse me, but there are 7 chakras. I learned about the 9 reading somewhere else, but there are 9 energy levels, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so much different information, I really don't know what to go for.
Yeah, it's a lot, and that's why we are here, and that's why he's here, so.
I be trying. But yeah, the fifth house is like children, past life deeds, romance, like specifically romance, not marriage or relationships, risk, speculation, creativity, cinema, acting, politics. It's a lot of different things. You know, if you know any Leo, all of these things really resonate with them because they're like
my dad. That sounds like my father. He's a Leo, yes.
Leo is like.
That's.
Leos are cool. I like Leos.
They're cool. They're very.
You go.
I look to him for a lot. They're very conscious. I look to my dad for a lot. He's very informative.
Mm.
He's very protective. What did you say about the kids? About the children?
That's
he's very romantic. Oh, he.
That's heavy. The sixth house correlate with your sign is Virgo. So sixth house is about health, service, routine. It's also the house of obstacles. They really try to make the sixth house sound bad, which happens with a lot of Virgos. Like,
that's why people on Twitter hate us so much.
No, honestly, like y'all get such a bad rap. I don't understand it.
We get such a bad rap, yes.
Like, you need these things in your life. Like you need routine. If you don't got routine,
you need a Virgo in your life.
No, for real. And you're gonna be fucked up out here.
Get you one.
You also need to have your health together. You also need to have your job together. Make sure that you understand and be humble and like be of service to other people, because like it's also funny. That's right after the house of the ego. So that's Virgo. Virgo is one of the most humble signs, but also not one of the most humble signs, which is funny to me. Seventh house. That's my house of Libra. It's house of partnerships, business partnerships, the public, not necessarily the public arena, but more so like a marketplace. So, like in my research, a lot of people like to talk about like Libra as a sign of balance. It's the only sign that's not an animal or a person. And like we're like, okay, where did the scales come from? It's Libra's associated with art, law, politics, but really it's about like
the law. I did not know law, and that's why. I did not know that.
And that's why I forgot what her name is. It's not Athena, but it's the little justice lady. She has a thing outside like most courthouses. And she
I
has
think I
that
know what
scale
you're
over
talking
there.
about. Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Like you weighing up the two options.
Okay.
So and that's
Are
why.
Libras indecisive?
Okay, so we can be definitely, but that's only because we like to be patient and think about every decision that we make. So just getting off track for a little bit, Libra and Aries are opposites. Aries is like the initiator. They're hairstrong. They'll go after what they want regardless, and they have that type of spontaneous energy. Libra, we really don't have that spontaneous energy. We have the same amount of energy, but we don't go about things like that. It's like, okay, where they're like, oh yeah, I see this, I'm about to go get it. I'm like, do I really need that? Okay, what would happen if I do this? What would happen if I do this? And like, we're perfectly fine with just sitting there waiting until the right decision is ready to be made. But when you talking like context of other people, they don't fuck with that shit. So, yeah, we be indecisive. And like, even if it's like something I want to eat, do I want a taco or do I want a burrito? I don't want the taco shells in my mouth.
Because I don't know if this is going to have more carbs in this and that. Yeah.
Like, you think about all of this stuff, like, in the heat of the moment. But the seventh house is also, like, a house of business. And that's why I said it was, like, the marketplace. That's pretty much it for right now. The eighth house, correlated with Scorpio. Now, the eighth house is, like, something that people usually find scary. It's death, taxes, taboo things.
Damn.
Sex.
Damn.
But it's all metaphorical. Death, what is death? Death is just, the end of one thing and the beginning of something else.
Death is reincarnation. Death is the closing of one door and the opening to another.
And that's what Scorpio understands the best. Transformation is the term that they like to use.
Gotcha.
But it's also about like emotions and like the way you feel about things, not the way somebody else feels, or creating a new feeling. Like those feelings that you have that you know that that's your experience. Nobody else is about to change your damn mind until your mind is ready to be changed. And they're also, I said sex, all of these different things. It's like Scorpio. And I also think Scorpios get a bad rap because like when you talk about like secretive, manipulation, these are two words that people throw out there, but like what is manipulation? It's the intention of doing something and then that intention becoming a physical reality. So like you can be like, well, I'm manipulating things to create this video for myself. That's true. Now how somebody feels about that,
outside looking in,
right? So that's their own situation. The ninth house correlates with Sagittarius. So that's long distance travel. You don't like Sagittarius?
Hate on.
Sagittarius is cool. I got my moon in Sagittarius, so I'm a goofy ass motherfucker. But I'm also, I'm dumb blunt. I really cannot help that sometimes. But I like the sign of Sagittarius. My father's Sagittarius. Okay. But they're about long distance travel.
You said something was short distance earlier. No.
Gemini.
Okay. Now what's long distance?
Sagittarius. So like where Gemini would be like, okay, I'm going all around the city. I might have to go here to go to a store. I may have to go here to go to a store. Go to Cleveland Heights. Go to Lakewood. Blah 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 like that. Sagittarius is like, let me go to New York. Let me go to Houston. Let me go to Chicago. Okay. Gemini is a sign of like learning things in your immediate environment. Sagittarius is learning things in the broad environment.
Makes sense.
Sagittarius is also like not necessarily like religious and doctrines, but like philosophy. That's the word that I'm looking for.
Makes sense.
Super duper philosophical.
Makes a lot.
They also have to deal with like creating law, because laws come from morals, and Sagittarius is also a sign of morals. among some other things, because I know you got some shit to say about them.
Yeah.
10th house. 10th house correlates with, not Sagittarius, Capricorn. Not if you choose a Capricorn. They cool.
They cool. They alright.
No.
They alright.
They always think they know what they talk about, but that's the opposite sign of Cancer, and the 10th house is about like your status, or not your career, your work environment, how things are in your work environment, how you come to be known. And like once you study the houses, you'll see like each one is an evolution of the previous one, and certain houses and like certain elements evolve to the next one, like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Yeah, Capricorn, that's the public arena, your status. I mean, in layman's terms, it's about like being a boss, an administrator, being able to make things practical, thinking of new ways to make things practical. Like, oh, I can make this system out of this. I can get this person. They're also very similar to Scorpio. I can get this person to help me go from point A to point B.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but it's also the exact opposite of the 4th house, which is Cancer. So Cancer is all about your home, private life. Capricorn is all about your public life and like more so the broad arena. So it's like,
ooh, yeah.
I don't want to say like Capricorns are all about status, but like
they care about it a lot.
Yeah, I mean it means something in this world though.
Yeah, especially nowadays, for sure. Yeah.
Like if I'm not necessarily if I'm a CEO of a company, like you'll look at me differently if I was the janitor. So titles and all of that stuff really play a huge part into the world that we in. The 11th house. 11th house correlates with, so where the 3rd house was your immediate surroundings and like your immediate, like the people that you know, person, places, things like that. The 7th house is like one-on-one partnerships, business partnerships. The 11th house, which correlates with Aquarius, is like the broad spectrum. So like any person that I meet out on the street, any person that I meet doing this thing, or if I'm a part of a group, these people are a part of this group too. It's about like humanitarianism, long-term goals and aspirations, and whatever, you know, the good and the bad about long-term goals. Like you have a long-term goal that you really wanted and you fulfilled it, but it might not have been what you thought of in the beginning. It's also about like science, sudden flashes of insight. You can also correlate it to like being like a sign of geniuses, but like genius is another word that kind of gets taken out of context. But yeah, it's also like your friendships and associations, but not like, oh, this is my best friend, but like, yeah, I know John from this group, I know Stacy from this group. And it's also the opposite of the 11th house. So, I mean, the opposite of the 5th house. Where the 5th house, remember I said it was like super duper romantic. The 5th house is all about like the love you give. The 11th house is like the love you receive from people. So that's why Aquarius is 9 times out of 10 know a whole bunch of damn people. And a whole bunch of people is cool with them, you know, for whatever reason that they is. And, you know, uniqueness, originality, change, and rebellion, all of that stuff that goes in that.
Got it.
And then we on the last one, which is the 12th house.
The Pisces. Okay.
12th house is opposite of the 6th house, where the 6th house was about routine, health, service, work, details. The 12th house is about spirituality, things that are unclear, institutions that are there to help people. So like charities, something like the Red Cross or St. Jude's or a hospital, a psychiatric ward, a jail. You know, 12th house is all about isolation. It also has to do with service, but like not more so like physical service like a Virgo would, but more so like emotional, spiritual service. And it's about like the collective unconscious. And by collective unconscious, I mean like, you ever think like, okay, you know, this is my group, we kindred spirits, and I meet somebody like, oh, you know, I feel like I knew you my whole life. That's the type of stuff that the 12th house in Pisces correlates to.
Okay.
Pisces is also super duper creative. Sometimes they deal with like not necessarily being in reality, but Pisces is not about reality. Like,
not at all.
And I mean, that world definitely exists out there for people who don't believe in that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like the gist of all 12 of them. and like I could have went more in depth with them. Like ninth house is about like your father's siblings and stuff like that. Sixth house is about your mother's siblings, aunts and uncles. Fourth house is mom. 10th house is dad.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild.
Did you have any other question?
No, it's just like, okay, so when you, I'm keeping in the back of my mind at the point where we took the left turn, we were supposed to be going right. I'm going a little bit more left though right now. But it's okay, so when you said that, when I asked you how did you get into it, you said 2015 is when you really started digging and you went towards astrology. Now, like I said in the video that I did titled After All or whatever, I said that I was reading more and it was expanding my mind. So the fact that you said that you gravitated towards astrology when you were in a time of, need for information, it makes me think about when I was reading about how we have different bodies on the planet. We have our physical, and one of them, I'm not going to name all of them, we'll get into that in later videos, but one of the bodies was our celestial body. Am I pronouncing it right? So that may have been what your body up there in the universe is probably guiding your, body down here towards that. So that's what I was thinking of or whatever. Really wasn't a question, just a realization. But before we started talking about all of that, you were talking about the retrograde and how we have Eastern astrology and Western astrology.
That's a big thing. So now, ultimately, they're coming to the same truth. And like, I believe that wholeheartedly. You talk to an Eastern astrology, they'll tell you not to listen to a Western astrologer.
What is it?
So it's literally the same thing. But the only difference is all the signs are moved back by 24 degrees. So it's almost like one sign. So instead of...
So that's what this year was supposed to be something like that, right? Like the signs are moving back?
Not really, because over here, we don't really adhere to that because the phenomenon that they're talking about is called the precession of the equinoxes. So, as the planets are going across the ecliptic, the universe is in constant motion. Every single damn thing is in constant motion, but it's all relative to each other. So what Western astrology was like 20,000 years ago, this was the star that we correlated everything off of. And these were the constellations back then. Because when I looked up on March 22nd, Aries was there. But when you look up right now on March 22nd, it's Pisces. So that's why when I was telling you earlier, like, oh yeah, if you look up, you will see a constellation, but now it won't be Aries. But in Western astrology, what we do is we base everything off of the seasons. So that's why Aries is always the start of spring, Libra is the start of fall, Cancer is the start of summer, Capricorn is the start of winter. And we kind of base them off of that, which it works.
And you said that's which one?
Western astrology.
Okay, Western.
And then Eastern, it doesn't go by that. It goes by like, the mathematical position. I mean, Eastern did all of the groundwork for...
What's the can we break that down right now?
Yeah, so, what did you ask me again?
You said the Eastern astrology, they did the groundwork, they did the mathematical breakdown of everything. So what is that? So
like, if you are like a history buff or a science buff at all, we've been discovering different celestial bodies for a long time. Now, way back in the day, before they even had any of these scientific instruments, they could still calculate that stuff. And the precision of their calculations was very close. So they're like, all right, well, I want to see how far the moon is from the sun. I mean, from my position right now. So I'm gonna look at this shadow and do this mathematical equation, boom, like that. Oh, I see that this star is brighter than this star. Is this one closer? Is that one closer? So they were doing all of that, but they correlated everything off of, it wasn't the North Star, but let's call it the North Star, where they took a star and that was like the fixed position. Okay, this is where we are in this space right now. So they did their mathematical equations, and that's how they came up with everything that they know of from that. Now, obviously things change over 20,000 years. So we came and was like, all right, I get why you say it's like that, but this is how it is for us because this is how it's working. Now, it's some history in between that because maybe for like 1,000 years, astrology was like non-existent. And when it was like transferring different systems, it's maybe about like 10 to 15 different systems of astrology. But again, they're all trying to say the same thing. That's how I feel about religion.
I was just thinking that I wasn't gonna say it.
So, yeah, that is like the main difference. So, like, you would just calculate things differently. If you go to a Western astrologer, they would tell, if you go to a Western astrologer, yeah, your sun will be in Virgo. If you go to an Eastern astrologer, they would be like, oh, you're a Leo.
You know, sometimes I felt like I was a Leo.
Listen, there is like positions in your chart that create characteristics of like certain signs.
Like the different houses, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I wish I could. I've been recording on the phone or whatever, so I can't break it down. But I want to say I do have one of my houses are in Leo. If that
you have every single one.
How do you say that? I don't know how to even say it because it's a lot. I had Scorpio and Scorpio, Virgo. I think a little bit of Libra. I don't know, but how do you say that? Like what houses and what sign and planet? What is?
Okay, so we could just like start at the sun and go down.
Okay.
So really, we only count like the 10 major planets. So you got, and sun is not a planet, moon's not a planet. But
I'm thinking like 10, like
the 10 celestial bodies or whatever.
Okay.
So you got the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. Or Uranus.
I've never heard anybody say Uranus.
I listen to a whole bunch of people who don't want to go through that joke, so they say Uranus, but
that sounds worse.
I mean, Uranus or Uranus, whatever. We talking about an asshole.
We in this, you're in. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay.
Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
Boom. So that's all 10 of them right there. Now you would say like, all right, my sun is in Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
My moon is in Gemini. Now your Mercury is in whatever Mercury sign it is in. Your Venus is in whatever Venus sign it's in. Mars is in whatever Mars sign it's in. Jupiter, Saturn.
And they rotate, right? Or
yeah.
No?
Now they all have their own orbit around the sun. So they change signs at different rates. So the fastest moving object in the sky, point blank period, is the moon. Mm-hmm. That's why the moon makes so many different aspects during the day. That's why you can feel one way 1 second and feel another way another second. Or like sometimes you just have really good days, and sometimes your days are just straight bullshit. Or sometimes you got people coming at you from left field, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
That's like the tides of the moon throughout the day, right?
Yes,
okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Then the second fastest moving one is Mercury. But the funny thing about certain planets, like, you can almost tell that they'll be close to each other. So like the sun and Mercury and Venus, they'll be close to each other because they never really more than 48 degrees apart. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, if you're a Virgo sign, your Venus is either going to be in Leo, maybe Cancer, Virgo.
How do you know this?
Because it's never more than 48 degrees.
And on the CoStar app, they should plug me for this. But on the CoStar app, they it did like have the degree on there also. Mm-hmm. So okay.
Now the degrees are important when you're talking about aspects. Aspects are just like relationships between different planets and signs. Now, just like we could just take like a layman point of view. So say you have, easy example, all right, you're sun in Virgo. You was just like rolling the side eyes at Sagittarius. So I can explain that. Now their Sagittarius and Virgo are 3-4 signs apart. So the angle that they make, everything is off of a 360-degree wheel, like a circle. So every sign is 30 degrees in the sky, and it all adds up to 360. Same thing with your houses. So, but you have different house systems, but essentially they're all 30 degrees. So you'll have every single sign in one house. Some of them you might have like split in one house and then go into another house, but we're not gonna get into that. But anyway,
he's about to make it all make sense.
So Virgo is Libra, Scorpio, 3 signs away. Mm-hmm. Now the angle, if you look on that circle, will be a 90-degree angle, which is a square. Now that is a Yeah, that's a tension aspect right there.
Okay.
So you can already just see like,
okay.
damn, what I'm about and what they about is already about to clash. So, and you could just like the description of Virgo and the description of Sagittarius. Virgo, I would say Virgo is more so about like details and closing thing in and like honing in on like one thing. And Sagittarius is broad. They don't give a damn about no details. So you can see where the friction happens at.
Wow, y'all. I'm like, I wish y'all were inside my head so y'all can see it's like numbers and points and everything flying. And it makes sense now. It makes sense.
We can insert that meme, that lady. Like,
yeah.
Another aspect is the opposition. So you had the square, which is 3 signs away. Example, Virgo, Sagittarius. Opposition is complete opposite. That's 180 degrees away. So opposite of Virgo is Pisces. So now everybody knows the phrase opposites attract, and this is completely true. But what happens when they get together, that's up to y'all. Now, I believe opposites are super complementary because like what I do, you don't do, what you do, I don't do. So if we learn how to compromise, then we can create something together, whatever that relationship might be. But other times it's like, you my damn enemy because you don't do what I do. And I'm trying to do what I do, you trying to do what you do. And that's like the opposition in a nutshell. Then you got the easier aspects. You got sextile, which is 2 signs and complementary elements. So Virgo and Cancer, for example. Now, you might be like, sometimes I get along with some Cancers, I don't get along with some Cancers. But mainly what that is like they create opportunities. Y'all create opportunities for each other. It could be a good opportunity, it could be a bad opportunity, but it's one that you consciously see. Now, the trine is the aspect between 2 planets that are in the same modality, not the same element. So Virgo and Taurus, or Virgo and Capricorn. So it's like
we still have the same element.
Yes.
Earth. Okay.
So that's another harmonious flow. It's a little bit easier than the sextile because y'all kind of do the same thing.
And which one is this again?
The trine.
The trine.
And the trine is 120 degrees, sextile is 60 degrees, opposition is 180 degrees. And then you have the conjunction, which is the most powerful one. The conjunction is 2 planets in the same exact sign. So Virgo and Virgo, super duper Virgo, good or bad. You know, y'all could.
That sounds like a headache, to be honest.
You know, it depends on the person, because you might be like, I really like this because I can do it with me. I know how to do it with other people like me, but the other person might be like, I don't even like my damn self. I'm not about to like
I don't
you.
know about that, but I love myself, so maybe it's the bars.
It works out like that sometimes. Sometimes you hate your own fucking guts, or at least a certain part of you. Be like, I don't like these emotions that I be feeling, but I love it when I just be doing whatever the hell I do. That's a story for a different bridge. So yeah, the conjunction is like a blending of energies, and it's kind of hard, but it's also powerful because you don't know where one starts and the other one ends or begins. So that's why I said it can be very powerful. Like y'all can really get at some shit, or y'all can really get at each other's necks, and that's why it's the most powerful one because like y'all can either be in harmony or you can be opposition. Now the conjunction can be every damn thing. Conjunction is usually categorized as like a neutral aspect. It can be good or bad. Square and opposition is categorized as bad, which are just learning experiences, and that's what we here like to do regardless.
Is learn.
Right. And then the sextile and the trine, those are gifts and opportunities, but you can squander your gifts and opportunities by not realizing what they are.
You know what's crazy? And I'm gonna show this to her. My best friend is a Cancer, and we always say that we are each other's gifts. Wow, that's so cute.
Oh, I hit it right there in the face. Right there. What next? So that's like relationships between signs and aspects, and of course you got like different planets that like to be with each other. You know, Mars and Venus, that's like classic. Sun and the Moon, that's classic. Mercury and Jupiter, that's like classic because that's Gemini, Sagittarius, but also
Thick as thieves.
yeah. But that's also Virgo and Pisces. Oh, how did I even get past this? So each sign is ruled by a planet in the sky. So I can start with Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. So that's why they have such that large ego.
Mm-hmm.
They're the king, or whatever like that.
Who's Earth?
Earth? That's interesting because I'm not gonna say traditionally. Normally you don't count Earth, but you do have an Earth sign. Now your Earth sign is always opposite from your sun sign. So like me, yeah. Now this is something new that I'm getting into, so I don't want to talk about it too much.
Okay.
But your Earth sign is opposite your sun sign, and if we were to talk about like rulership, new age rulership, then Taurus will be correlated to Earth instead of Venus.
Oh.
But that's probably the most powerful one because like we're here on Earth.
On Earth.
So like you ruling this shit. You can do whatever you want.
Y'all hear that?
I like Tauruses. I got Taurus ascendant.
That's what's up. Y'all are off of that.
No. So the Leo is ruled by the sun. The moon is ruled by Cancer. Well, Cancer is ruled by the moon.
Emotional.
Yes, that.
Ties.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mercury has two planets. Has Gemini and Virgo. Now, Gemini is more so about like communication side of Virgo. I mean, not Virgo of Mercury. Like, okay, talking just to talk, talking to gather information, talking to connect things together, breaking things down and learn how to build it back up again. Virgo is like honing in on the details, scheduling, planning, like making sure it's a routine. That's the other side of Mercury because it can really be like on point like that. This both sides of the mind. So that's why I like Virgo and Mercury. Most of the time, people usually think they're smart, either too smart for their own good or something like, oh, you a damn smart ass. Like, I just know what the fuck this is at this moment right here.
I know what I be talking. I be telling people all the time. I know what I be talking about.
It be like that, but that's also why people don't really like Virgos because it's like, yeah, your shirt's unbuttoned. Shut the hell up. So the next one you got is Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. So is Scorpio. I mean, that's like traditional rulership. But new ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. And it adds this like super duper psychological bend to it.
Where does that leave Scorpio with this whole thing with Pluto with them trying to, count Pluto out as a planet?
That shit really don't even matter. Like,
okay.
But like, mostly Mars is like the real ruler of Scorpio, but with Aries and Scorpio, Aries is the masculine version of Mars. That's where they're so out there and headstrong and they want to be initiators. Where the feminine version of Mars is Scorpio, where it's like, these are my intentions on the inside, these are my desires. And you might think of it as manipulation, but I'm doing the exact same thing. You just don't see that shit until it's coming. Or it already happened. Way past already happened.
Okay.
Then you have Taurus and Libra are both co-ruled by Venus. Taurus is the feminine side of Venus, which is funny. It's more so like security, comfort, materialism, but like they deserve to have that materialism. Like, oh, I like this nice shirt. I like these clothes. I like this house. I like this. I work for that. And that's that side of Venus. The other side of Venus with Libra is about harmony, relationships, relating to people. Okay,
This is so cool. It's so nice.
I'm glad I got. And both of them have to deal with art and music and things like that. But Libra is the masculine version of Venus. That's why they're more so initiating, creating new relationships. They'll go out of their way to try and harmonize the situation. Taurus is like, okay, I'm over here in my own little bubble. If you come over here, fuck with me. Hey, I have a friend now. And that's also why people think Taurus are naive because they have that side of Venus to them. Then the next, we have Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Now, traditionally, both Jupiter and Pisces are ruled by Sagittarius, but the new ruler for Pisces is Neptune. And Neptune is about like dreams, imagination, drugs, esoteric experiences, transcendent experiences. That's why it's correlated with Pisces now. Then you have Capricorn with Saturn and Aquarius with Saturn. Now, Saturn is like the cold father, just like, okay, we got this business to get done. I don't care about how much money you got. I don't care about who the hell you think you is. I don't care about what your emotions. I don't care about your feelings. None of that stuff. Like, what's the bottom line? And that's what Saturn is about. Like, but Aquarius is also the side of Saturn where it's like the future thinker. Okay, you know, I thought ahead about this. This is for everybody because I know the best for everybody because I've sat out there and studied all of that. But Aquarius is also ruled by Uranus, which is like change and rebellion.
Uranus. I cannot.
Your assness. Yeah, so that's like the rulership for all of the planets. Like, I wish you could look up your chart. You
I know. I'm going to. As soon as I press stop, I'm going to, I swear.
What else? Okay, I could talk a little bit more about the retrograde. So, Mercury.
Yeah, make that make sense, because I want to know what all these random crying attacks that I was having was. So make that make sense.
Now, like, I could look at your chart and see specifically what part of the retrograde is
That's
affecting.
what I should have been doing. That's what I should have been doing.
Yeah, we can do that.
I don't know. I know that this stuff is deep, but I didn't know it was this, you know.
It always gets deeper than that, actually.
I know.
Kind of scary.
And that's the, my dad, he'd be like, be careful reading up on all that stuff.
No, for real, because you'd be like,
yeah.
what the fuck? That is true. Or, damn, that's not true. And then, boom, that situation happened.
This is, you giving me like a lot to sleep on and think about. Like
It's fun though.
Yeah.
But like with Mercury retrograde, so Mercury is about communication. It's your analytical mind. It deals with travel, like short distance travel. So like your car or like going from point A to point B across town and stuff like that. But mainly communication. Now, when that goes backwards, instead of outward communication, it goes inward. So you have a whole bunch of miscommunication. You might miss appointments because you're thinking too fast or thinking too much or thinking about something that happened from the past because that's retrograde. Old people might come back and try to speak to you. This almost always happens. Old situations come up that you have to rectify. But if you are a person who deals with like introspection and maybe being comfortable with being isolated for a little bit to work on the things that you know you need to work on, or you've been working on those things, Mercury retrograde or any of these retrogrades, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, you're gonna have your problems, but
yeah, because it's like I've been doing the whole isolating myself for, you know, bettering myself. I've been doing that whole thing, so it was like I didn't feel anything drastic, but I just knew that emotions were just pouring up out of me. And I'm like, man,
it's also Cancer season. Venus is in Cancer. Mars just left Cancer. Mercury just left Cancer. It's about to go back into Cancer. So yeah.
And I seen something like that too. I don't know what none of this stuff means, but I was just like, something is going on. Something is going on with my core right now.
You probably have a planet in Cancer or something like that.
I do.
What do you know which one?
I don't know. I don't know which one, but I do.
I don't think it's your Venus. No, I don't think it's your Venus.
And I was shocked to see that in me. I was like, I got a little Cancer in me? Like, what?
That's like Mercury retrograde in a nutshell. But we also
that makes so much sense as to the whole, you know, communication, people trying to come back, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to go through what I was thinking and all of that, but that makes a lot of sense about the things I was thinking about, and yeah.
But it'll be over because it's like it goes through a station period. That's when it appears still in the sky. So that's when you start to feel like, okay, what is this weird feeling that I'm getting? Like, oh damn, I can't even have my routine for the life of me because there's a whole bunch of just extra shit going on.
Yes.
Then when it goes retrograde, it's like full force bullshit.
Yes.
Yes. But it'll go direct soon, sometime in like a week or two. So it'll go back through Cancer, then through Leo, and then into Virgo next.
My birthday is coming up also, you guys. But
what day is your birthday?
August 28th.
That's my mother's birthday.
Oh, she's a doll, isn't she?
Yes,
Aww.
I like my mother.
answered a lot of questions that I had. I hope he answered a lot for you guys too. But go ahead and let them know how they can reach you, you know, once we press stop on the video.
Every single thing I got is from Cleveland Love, FROMCLEWITHLOVE. Yeah, so hit me up, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I really don't be on Twitter, but hit me up on Twitter anyway. I should be on Twitter. Yeah. Twitter is always lit.
So my last question to you, and I want you to think about this before you answer it. What do you do, and not for currency, what do you provide to the community in the world? Are you an educator, an influencer, a healer? What do you do?
That's very interesting that you just asked that. That's extremely interesting that you just asked that question.
I love when people get to digging within themselves and thinking about what it is that they provide. I love thinking about it for myself as well.
I would have to say I am a educator / healer because like
I can dig it.
I like to educate through the experiences that I feel I've been through and talk about just like my perception of what I was in. And I don't want to say a lot of times that it doesn't have to deal with astrology, but it definitely has to deal with like spirituality and philosophical like ideals. And so I like to say I'm a healer because like whenever I reveal something about myself that I really didn't want to reveal, but I know, like I feel deep down that what I want to do will help somebody else. Almost always somebody tells me like, damn, you know what, thank you for sharing that. Or I've been through that too. And I start to notice other people feel more comfortable. Like I see these things happen almost instantaneously. They feel more comfortable about talking about the shit that had to do with what we was talking about, whatever, whether it's like mental health or whether it's like physical health or like relationships wise or like relationships with your parents or relationship with family and friends and things like that. Hell, the relationship with yourself. So
the most important.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, so I would have to say like a healer and educator. I always wanted to be an entertainer, but I feel like I can entertain through those avenues. So yeah, that's very interesting that you just asked that question because I was just trying to define this maybe 2 or 3 days ago.
I'm glad I could help. Alrighty, well thank you guys for tuning in. Until again, see you guys later. Bye.